Straight to the point, viewers. People throughout the world today are now adopting the new normal ways caused by COVID-19 pandemic. And the only choice we have to combat this pandemic is to face this virus head on. Running away and hiding somewhere is not a solution. Virus still find its way to creep even beyond borders. We are encouraged for a responsible vaccination and immunization, but we are not also the conscience of other people. Still, freedom of choice matters. One of the famous health advocates in the person of Ellen G. White strengthened the normal way of defending our bodies from diseases. She said, pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power, these are the true remedies. And every person should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to apply it. It is essential also both to understand the principle involved in treatment of the sick and to have a practical training that will enable one rightly to use this knowledge. This is being summed up in the acronym New Start. N represent nutrition, E exercise, W water, S sunlight, T temperance, A air, R is rest, and the last one is T trust in God. My friends, people have different views about vaccinations, whether to get vaccinated or not. There are negative and positive effects on vaccination. And though vaccination is highly recommended by the World Health Organization and the world leaders, but yet we have our choices in regard to this issue. But one of the great impacts of COVID-19 pandemic is the increase of depression. Depression needs a serious attention because many people today don't know about it, don't talk about it, and don't have any idea how to deal with it. Depression will gradually drag a person to a serious health problem. According to the definition, depression is a constant feeling of sadness and loss of interest which stop you doing your normal activities. Different types of depression exist, with symptoms ranging from relatively minor to severe. Generally, depression does not result from a single event, but from a mix of events and factors. And another article says, people experience depression in different ways. It may interfere with your daily work, resulting in lost time and lower productivity. It can also influence relationships and some chronic health condition. And though the contamination of COVID-19 is so fast, yet in terms of mortality, it is not really that alarming. But the impacts of this pandemic caused by COVID-19 is huge and devastating, just like depression. It is important, my friend, to know and to detect depression. It is wise idea to prevent depression than to cure it. When Job was hit by a very painful situation that causes severe depression, in the long run, due to the fact that all his children died instantly without knowing anything, any reason why it happened to him, Job made an immediate action. When a certain life event, my friend, that will surprise you, that will overwhelm you, it is a good thing and a life-saving when we know an immediate action to head on and defend ourselves. Let us read the Bible how Job managed to assist himself during the time that all his children died. In the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 18 and 19 says, while he was still speaking, yet another messenger came and said, your son and daughter were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the four corners of the house. It collapsed on them and they are dead, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. After Job heard this sad and devastating report, Job immediately made a rash support for himself. Job chapter 1 verse 20 says, "At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship." The very first immediate action Job did when he was overwhelmed and was surprised that caused depression in the long run was worship. Job fell to the ground and worship. You can see in the screen the meaning of the word worship in the context. In Hebrew, it is called, the meaning of it is to depress or prostrate, specifically reflexive in homage to the royalty or God. Again, in homage to the royalty or God. Evidence that he really honored God despite what had happened. Let us turn our Bible in verse 21. It says, he said, "I am naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord." My friend, just like Job, we are limited. We are not superhuman. We have our own weaknesses. We have our own boundaries. There are things that will happen in our surroundings that may affect us so deep that will cause us depression. Yet, he found one powerful comfort, and that is worshiping God. According to the research in U.S., examining the association between belief in God or high power and the effectiveness of mental health treatment, it says the study found that patients with a self-reported strong belief in God were more likely to respond to treatment, and that a higher level of belief was associated with greater reduction in mental health symptoms such as depression and the desire to self-harm. In another article, it says, a substantial amount of research points to the benefits of faith to mitigate symptoms of depression. In one study, for example, researcher of McLean Hospital in Belmont, Massachusetts, found that belief in God was associated with better treatment outcomes. And according to Borchardt, they followed 159 individuals over the course of a year to examine the relationship between a person's level of belief in God, expectations for treatment, and actual treatment outcomes. Individuals with no belief or only a slight belief in God were twice as likely to not respond to treatment than people with stronger beliefs. This is why Job worshiped God. When he was devastated, he was surprised and overwhelmed by the report that all his children died. And it gradually caused him depression. But since he worshiped God, he believed in God. According to Psalms 114, verse 15, David says, "Happy is the people that is in such a case. Yea, happy is the people whose God is the Lord." We can combat depression in the midst of an overwhelming event, in any occasion that will surprise us, when we worship God. Because when God is the center of our worship, according to David, happy is the people whose God is the Lord. My friend, this pandemic may cause some of us a severe depression, and that is possible. Severe depression that may lead to a low productivity in life, loss of interest in life, and sadness. Friends, do not forget what to do in times like these. Let us kneel down and bow before the Lord our Maker. In Him, when we submit everything, there is no impossibility. Matthew chapter 19 verse 26 says, Jesus looked at them intently and said, "Humanly speaking, it is impossible, but with God, everything is possible." The moment that you will draw nigh to Him, to Jesus, and worship Him despite of the situation that you cannot understand, He is near, just so near to touch you. David says in his book, Psalms 34 verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirit are crushed." God is just a prayer away, my friend. Remember that. This is Pastor Ricardo De Asis Jr., Hope Channel Southern Mindanao, all in our episode, Straight to the Point.